upset you, I'll not forget you, sweetheart. We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. Keep smiling through, just like you always do, till the blue skies chase those dark clouds far away. And I will just say hello to the folks that you know. Tell them you won't be long. They'll be happy to know that as I saw you go, you were singing this song. We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. The folks that you know, tell them you won't be long. They'll be happy to know that as I saw you go, you were singing this song. We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day.
My accordion is silent, as it is with life, my life too. No more shall I play for you, there is nothing left to do. Don't be sad for me today, for me please do not weep. Call upon your memories, they are yours to keep. The music upstairs is striking up, for me they now await. To play the squeeze box I now can do, as I pass through heaven's gate. It's grand to be reunited with family friends, both old and new. We start to play, it sounds so good, just perfectly like I expected it would. On behalf of Marcia, Nigel and their families, I warmly welcome you. I thank you for your presence as we gather to say a last farewell to a much-loved father, grandfather, great-grandfather and a friendly, talkative mate. That was Colin Albert Anderson, better known to you all as Cole. We'd also like to welcome family and friends who are unable to be with us today but are joining us by live stream. My name is Delma Carpenter, a funeral celebrant, and along with Brendan from Parkside Funerals, we feel privileged to have been asked to conduct this service for you. Please, if you haven't done so already, now is a great time to turn your mobile phones onto silent or off. Cole was born in July of 1925. For most of us here today, we cannot begin to comprehend the changes that Cole must have experienced and witnessed throughout his 95 years of life. And when you think about it, Cole would have seen the development of cars and aeroplanes and the things that we take for granted like electricity and hot running water, refrigerators, televisions, and not to mention mobile phones and computers. What an amazing capacity Cole had and must have had to adapt to those changes. You would have to say that the world he left is a very different one to the world he entered in 1925. Abraham Lincoln once said, "In the end, it's not the years in your life that counts, it's the life in your years." And Cole certainly had life in his years. He was a social person, outgoing, liked the company of others, and for those who knew him, you would know how he liked to have a talk. Being born in Zion, Cole was passionate about the West Coast and its history. He was a source of knowledge and the one that people turned to if they wanted to know about the lives and the times of the West Coast. Having a shack and visiting frequently, Cole became involved with the Trial Harbour community. He looked forward to the social nights, chatting with friends, entertaining them with his squeeze box. Cole couldn't read music and played the accordion by ear. And in his retirement, he was a regular visitor to the Emerton Park in Smithton, where he played and entertained the residents with his music. Cole had a creative mind and in his early life had an interest in UFOs. He also read a lot of books about pyramid power and built a small pyramid to experiment with. Nigel recalled an experiment where his father had 3 glasses of water. One was straight from the tap, the other glass had been sitting on a bench for about half an hour, and the 3rd glass he placed under the pyramid for a short time. Amazingly, Nigel said the water from under the pyramid tasted different. Cole also had an interest in water divining and found underground water for many farmers in the Circular Head area. In his 50s, Cole was a keen snooker player and he bought a table and would regularly have snooker nights with his mates. Both Colin and Nigel were avid watchers of the Pot Black snooker series screened on the television. And one evening they were staying out at Trial Harbour when a final was being televised. And not wanting to miss it, they drove out the road from the harbour to get a good reception. They placed the TV on the bonnet of the car and hooked it up to the 12-volt battery to watch the final. Nigel said the reception wasn't that good. They had trouble seeing the colour of the balls. Cole loved his wife Edith and her cooking. They'd been married for 65 years up until June last year when Edith sadly passed away. Marcia said that her dad was a stickler for routine and she can remember every Sunday her mum cooking a roast and her dad playing and listening to music before lunch. She said he liked a wide genre of music and had a large collection of records, and all depending on his mood, they could be listening to anything from band music to Viennese waltz to an old wartime song. To hear more of Cole's life, I'd now like to invite Marcia to come forward, and she's going to do Cole's eulogy with us. Share his eulogy with us.
Dad was born at Zion on the 4th of July 1925. He left school at the end of grade 8 to start work in the local grocery store, and around the same time he started subscribing to a new magazine about electricity. It did not take long for the store owner to tap into Dad's interest and have him install a light in the store. While installing the light, a customer entered the store, saw what Dad was doing, and asked if he'd be able to install a light in his home. This customer just happened to be the mine manager of Oceana Mine, and he soon had Dad doing a few electrical jobs at the mine. This turned into an electrical apprenticeship when a hydro inspector visiting the mine inquired as to who was the mine's electrician, and the manager had to think very quickly on his feet. After meeting in the early 1950s, Mum and Dad were married in Stanley on the 21st of May 1955. They lived in Zion for a few years and started their family there by having me. In 1959, while Mum was staying with her family in Smithton awaiting the birth of Lena, Dad made the decision to move to Smithton. A house was rented somewhere behind the Bridge Hotel in Smithton while they waited for their home at 15 John Street to be built. Even though the majority of his long life was spent in Smithton, the west coast of Tasmania held a deep and special place within Dad, and he always had stories to share. Even on my last visit with Dad, he was telling me stories about the west coast. On relocating to Smithton, Dad started work for B.H. Williams, and in the early 1970s, Dad obtained his contractor's licence and began working for himself. The majority of his customers were farmers, and he soon developed strong relationships with them. He was always willing to step in and help. Even one Christmas Day, when a dairy farmer's milking machine stopped working, Dad rushed out to help to ensure that the cows would be okay. He did make it back in time for lunch. Although Dad had never wanted to take on apprentices, when Nigel decided that he too would like to be an electrician, Dad very proudly signed the documentation to enable Nigel to become an apprentice under his guidance. Dad's interests were many and varied. He was president of the Circular Head Camera Club from the mid-1960s to the late 1970s. Both Nigel and I have memories of Dad organising many social functions for the club and also attending field trips. One memory of a field trip is of Dad being the lead car, so in order to stand out, he had raised his car's radio aerial and stuck a length of red insulation tape to it to make a flag. Another memory of a field trip is a visit to the Leven Canyon. Nigel was not very old at the time. We had arrived and Dad was congratulated for encouraging his son's interest in photography. Nigel had a camera on a strap around his neck. However, all was not as it seemed. Nigel lined up some members to take their photo and revealed that his camera was actually a water pistol by spraying them with water. Over the years, Dad's love of photography continued. and he moved on from still photos to using a video camera, and even in later years to using a digital video camera. Consequently, we have many hours of not only slides, but also video memories. Hop beer making and wine making have also been a hobby of his. I remember Dad growing some hop vines in the backyard, and Lena and I sitting at the back doorstep on a wet day, picking the hop flowers off the sticky vines. Dad made a temporary hammock to fit over the slow combustion stove, and this then acted as a drying kiln for the hops. Imagine the smell in the kitchen. His first attempt at winemaking was actually while still living in Zion, but Mum told us the story several times that it is almost a memory too. He made a batch of rhubarb champagne, but unfortunately he had tied down the corks on the bottles, so many of them exploded. As the bottles had been stored in his radio room, this frightened Mum into thinking he had injured himself while tinkering with his radios. This did not put him off though, and many visitors to their Smithton home over the years would have seen the large bubbling container sitting on the kitchen bench. Orange wine, dandelion wine, plum wine and strawberry wine were just some of his wine-making efforts. He also enjoyed marinating various homegrown fruits in spirits. Cara remembers an interesting evening when she was 12 years old of being given plums marinated in wolf snaps. Dad also at one stage tried his hand at bread making. This would necessitate Mum hurriedly packing away mats from the kitchen floor, as somehow or other Dad would manage to get flour not only on his workspace, but on most of the kitchen floor too. His bread, however, was usually very good. Another interest was cake decorating. A very good family friend, Mrs. Dulcie Wessing of Forest, a renowned cake decorator, kindly gave Dad a few pointers in the art of making flowers with icing and tips to ice a cake. For a number of years, Lena, Nigel and I had very elaborately decorated birthday cakes. Through a tape club, Dad made some friends in both America and the UK. At first these tapes were the reel-to-reel kind, and then later cassette tapes. Dad could often be heard talking in the lounge room to his tape recorder, getting a new tape ready to send overseas. I have a memory of him, when Lena and I were quite young, helping us record a message to the children of one of his tape friends. Once Dad commenced working for himself, he no longer had the time to spend on many hobbies, but he did, however, use his downtime to visit his shack at Trial Harbour. He loved getting away to the shack. In fact, Mum used to laughingly say that the only time Dad would be out of bed early was to head off to the shack. He'd usually leave Smithton by about 6 a.m. He could even get packed up for a visit to the shack with very little warning. Any suggestion of a trip there was very quickly acted upon. Over the years, many of his friends were treated to a few days at the shack with him, and I am sure many happy hours and many meals of his famous Trial Harbour stew were had. Upon retirement, Dad volunteered for a number of years at the Circular Head Heritage Centre. His love of local history and fondness of chatting to people would have certainly been an enticing drawcard for him to offer his time to do this. He also very willingly volunteered his time each year to Working Bees to help set up for the Circular Head Agricultural Show at Stanley. In fact, in 2012, he was awarded a Certificate of Merit by the Show Society in recognition of his service. Dad was also a member of the Historical Machinery Club. He would very proudly show his Lidster stationary engine at the club's display at the Stanley Show. Once retired, Dad was able to spend more time enjoying his love of woodworking. Not just family, but quite a few friends have received clocks and small tables that he had made. The grandchildren did not miss out, as he made a large wooden truck for each of his grandsons and a wooden doll's pram for each granddaughter. Dad certainly enjoyed spending time with his grandchildren. His love of puzzles would come to the fore, and that he quite frequently set up treasure hunts around the garden of 15 John Street when he knew they were going to visit. He would set up a sequence of clues that the grandchildren had to solve or find, with the final treasure usually being a Freddo frog. Sophie was the last grandchild to complete one of his treasure hunts on Christmas Day 2017. Michael and Cara also have memories of arriving home from school and being greeted by Dad saying, "I've been around." This would mean that he'd been into their bedrooms and hidden Freddo frogs. Sometimes the hunt for this treat would take quite some considerable time, days in some cases. Dad really enjoyed Christmas time, especially Christmas carols. He would often attend 3 to 4 Christmas carol events a year, just to hear and to join in with the singing. He also particularly enjoyed viewing the Christmas light displays on people's homes. I remember one year he was approached to play the role of Santa for a local church group and was so into the role that he had Mum drive him around a few Smithton streets just so he could throw out some lollies to any children he saw. Dad had a great love for all animals, and one animal that really touched his heart was his dog Bailey. She was his constant companion and best friend. Mum would even walk her, or rather, Bailey walked Mum, every day for quite a distance. All that I have mentioned here today has really only touched on a small window of Dad's life. At reaching almost 96 years of age, and having had a keen interest in so many things, Dad has, I am sure, left lasting memories of different facets of his life on each and every one of us here today. On behalf of Nigel and Mel, Leo and myself and our families, I would like to express sincere thanks to all staff of the Grange at Yamina Park for the care and love given to both Mum and Dad, and for the warm, friendly greetings extended to both family and friends whenever we visited. To close, I would like to use a goodbye saying of Dad's, Uru.
Thank you, Marcia. Cole certainly did have a full life. They say that a picture paints 1,000 words, so we're now going to see visual memories of Cole's life. What a lovely selection of photos, yeah. As I said to Marcy before, I like the photo of his old motorbike. I'd like to share a poem with you. It's called Remember Me. It's the same poem that we shared at Edith's funeral, and you may like to follow along. It's in your service sheet. Don't remember me with sadness, don't remember me with tears. Remember all the laughter we've shared throughout the years. Now I am contented that my life, it was worthwhile. Knowing that I passed along the way, I made somebody smile. When you're walking down the street and you've got me on your mind, I'm walking in your footsteps, only half a step behind. So please don't be unhappy just because I'm out of sight. Remember that I'm with you each morning, noon and night. The family have asked me to sincerely thank you for your presence here today and invite you to join them for refreshments here at Parkside after the burial service. Very shortly we'll be taking Cole to his final resting place, and you're most welcome to join us for the burial service at the Burney Lawn Cemetery next door. But if you're unable to come with us, you're most welcome to stay here at Parkside and wait for the family to return. Please stand if you are able.